The most adventurous thing I've done while traveling is one of my first times I ever went to Mexico. I went to Isla Mujeres and I did a scorpion shot. So it's tequila with like a actual real scorpion inside of it. And I took it as a shot. I prefer to travel solo. I'm more of like, let me just go explore and adventure things on my own and, make sure that I'm always doing what I like and not what other people like to do. Maybe I'm selfish, but that's how I like to travel. The best place I've ever traveled to that exceeded any expectations that I've ever had is probably Merida, Mexico, because they have a lot of Spanish style architecture. And if you're into that stuff, like I am, like old textiles and things, it's got a lot to offer. I decided to take this trip with CAM4 to go on Below Deck because I just became a single parent and I was breastfeeding like 5 times a day. Probably more than that, but I was pumping too, and I was working full time and I was just exhausted. And this was my first I'm getting out of the house experience, and way to do it. I went all the way around the world. I loved the experience. I thought the experience on the yacht was really awesome. And my experience was incredible. It was meeting people and hanging out with people and eating with people that I might not have ever done that. It was a lot of really good times. I survived. You know what? I survived being on the open sea, but I got on the open sea without a voice. And I was homesick and my stomach felt terrible. I had so much seasickness, but luckily I had medication that helped with it. And it was still good. It didn't really affect me much. My special requests are pretty basic. Okay. So I'm an American Midwest girl. My requests were Twizzlers, were Jelly Belly jelly beans, Bang energy drinks. All of those were fulfilled. I got all 3 of those and it made me so incredibly happy. I think the food choices every day were to accommodate the majority of the dietary restrictions or dietary wants of everyone. And I'm more of like a meat and potatoes kind of girl. So I would have much preferred to have steak and potatoes probably every single night. Probably. And I know one time I was given lobster and I definitely do not eat brains. My journey to CAM4 is kind of funny. And I've mentioned it before on another interview. I was dating a guy in St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't date him a long time, just like a little bit. And he came to my house and he's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a bartender. And he's like, but you don't have like all this stuff because you're a bartender. Like, bartenders don't live like this. And I said, well, no, I had my own company and it was successful. And I closed it a couple months ago. He said, well, what do you do like with your spare time? Are you like a cam girl? And I was like, what the hell is that? So that night I Googled, what is a cam girl? Exactly. And the first thing that popped up was CAM4. So then I created an account, Vanna Faye. How did I come up with that name? Well, I thought of the most beautiful name in the entire world, which is my dog's name, Vanna Faye. And that's how I became Vanna Faye, the cam model. And after maybe 4 years of camming, maybe a little bit less, one of the old head coaches asked me to become a coach. And I said, sure. Yeah, it's kind of been on from there. Then I just started coaching all the time. And now I'm the only coach for North America. What sets CAM4 apart from all the other cam companies is our incentive programs that we have, our contests that we have. Of course, I'm biased. I've broadcasted on the site for so long, and I love the community. The fans are super good. All of the users are really supportive and they remember you forever. And I just like that. There's not bots in my room. So I always know that the number of people that are in the cam room are like legitimate people that can purchase tokens, that can spend money on me. So that's great. Or I've been with the company for so long, and from two different sides of it, from like working on it, you know, from a broadcaster standpoint, and now working on it on a corporate standpoint. So I love working here. The way that I balance my work and my home life is basically like a 5-ring circus. It's like throw it up and whatever you catch is what sticks, because things change. I have a baby, and I have a small human, and because of that, I'm a mommy all the time. So I'm a mommy from 6 o'clock in the morning until forever at night, basically. I work for maybe 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. Sometimes I work more, sometimes I'm not able to. I just get in when I fit in, and I have very particular work schedule hours so that I can have the home life that I want and that I work for. CAM4 has really impacted my life in a lot of ways. In 2016, I had a brain injury. So I had meningitis, and I lost mobility of half my body, and I lost my speech and a whole lot of other things that are like pretty sucky to go through as a person. So my symptoms mimic the same symptoms of a stroke. I ended up selling the company that I had built since I was 26. When I started camming, I didn't really think anything about it, but I kept being given opportunities to grow more as a broadcaster, as a model, as a content creator. And I took it and I ran with it because if I have nothing else, I have incredible work drive. I was really tired of living in St. Louis. And so I told myself, Vanna, if you can make X amount of dollars every single month, you're going to move yourself to Cancun. So I did. I was still a model. I was still broadcasting whenever I moved to Cancun. I continued being a broadcaster for maybe another 2 years. So now I have built this incredible life in Cancun that I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't work this position with CAM4 and have all these doors open for me on a corporate level that I have. I think that it's important that the general public finally starts to realize that sex is a business, that the adult industry is something real, and that there's real people inside of it. And those real people are really working. I think there's this like stigma that sex workers are just people who take other people's money, or people who prey on men that are weak, or something along those lines. I don't know the words that I'm searching for, but there's so much stigma around the adult industry. And actually, everyone that I know, that I'm friends with in the adult industry, are very real and quite normal people. I think that the reputation is that everyone's, bizarre and out there and super different. And it's just not the case. Some of us have families. Some of us have brothers and sisters that we have dinner with on Sunday nights, and we walk our dogs, and there's nothing outrageous particularly about us. We just chose a path that we found to be more lucrative than others and more intelligent to make the leap. What scared me the most about going on Below Deck, we traveled all the way around the world, like upwards of 30 something hours on an airplane. I was away from my family. I was away from my son, who at the time was 5 months old, which is an incredible, crazy thing to do. But I just basically closed my eyes and got on the plane and decided I'm going. And once I jump on the plane, there's no looking back. I'm out of here. That was super scary. But even more scary than stepping foot onto the plane was we were still going through all the stuff with coronavirus. We had to get tested multiple times every country, every airport that we were in, we had to get PCR tests. We had to get rapid tests. There was so much COVID testing. The scariest part wasn't going there. It was, are we going to be able to come back? Because if any of us would have gotten coronavirus while we were in Australia, we would have had to wait 2 weeks before we could return. And all I kept thinking is, please don't keep me from my son for another 2 weeks. That would devastate me totally. Not only break me. Australia's not cheap. I didn't learn anything on the yacht, to be honest. I had a good time. I was sober most of it. I was drinking tea because I was sick, but I had a really amazing time. I was just chilling. I was chilling. I was just being a human, free of all restrictions. The crew was super supportive because of me not having a voice. It's horrifying to be able to go on this amazing, luxurious vacation and have not be able to talk at all. And for me, it's even worse. I talk a lot. I talk a lot. That's how I get all my everything out, you know? So for me, it was terrible to not have a voice, but the crew, they kept bringing me hot tea. They kept bringing me like little lozenges. Yeah, they were always there for me. And everybody was really understanding and didn't make me strain my voice. And even one time, Laura had said, you have to be really gentle with your voice cords because they're very delicate. So when you harm them, you can't strain your voice. You're just going to hurt them more. So I was pretty cautious. Yes, I have exciting travel coming up. I am going to Colombia. I'm going to go see one of the broadcasters on CAM4. I'm going to get an Airbnb and it's going to be a bunch of us girls and we're just going to hang out in Colombia for a few days.